Hi Year 3, I hope you're enjoying the book Leon and the Place Between as much as I am. I love his magical adventures already. Right, it's Thursday's reading session. Let's go and make a start.
We're looking at the skill of vocabulary today. We're also going to do some retrieval, where we're going to have to be reading detectives to find information from the text. Well done to Rosie and 3P for sending in her vocabulary predictions from Monday's lesson. To start our lesson today, I want you to think, would you have stepped into the box? Pause and discuss with someone in your house. I'm sure you had lots of different reasons, either for or against stepping into Abdul Kazam's magic box. Let's check our tricky words together. What does the first one say? Appear, well done. And the second word? That's right, it says complete. What does the third word say? Surprise, well done. Let's look at our other word with the root word. Disappear. That's right, our root word is appear. We had our prefix. Hopefully you've heard this word in our story. Let's look at our last word. What does it say? Happily, that's right. What's the root word of happily? It's happy. What spelling rule can you see? Happy ends in a Y, but we've added our suffix on the end, so we've had to take off our Y and add an I instead before we've added our ly suffix. Let's clap our words today. When we clap our words, we can hear how many syllables it has. Let's say with the first word. Lurched, 1 syllable. Blossomed, 2 syllables. Fluttering, 3 syllables. And our last word, solemn, 1 syllable. Today I'm going to read the end of the story.
Outside in the night, an owl hooted. With a swish, the curtains opened. Poof! A cloud of purple smoke filled the stage. And there he was, Abdul Kazam! Sparks flew from his fingertips. Leon could smell the magic. Trust nothing, said Abdul Kazam, but believe everything. He threw his arms into the air and the magic began. Paper flowers blossomed from his sleeves. Silk scarves changed colour at a whispered word. Water poured into a hat turned into night air. Bright white handkerchiefs became fluttering doves. The crowd was amazed. Then Abdul Kazam stepped aside and there was a door into a box. Who will step into the magic? Leon knew it had to be him. He stepped up to the stage and climbed into the box. There was a gasp from little Mo, and the door shut behind him. Inside, the box was not a box. It was a world of doorways to somewhere else. Leon fell down, 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 until he tumbled onto a carpet. Hello, said a boy in blue pantaloon trousers. Where am I? Asked Leon. This is the place between, said the boy. Between what? Between there and back again. This is the place where magic sends you. Will you show me? Asked Leon. The boy smiled. Hold on tight. He gave the carpet a tug. With a swoop, off they flew. Everything that disappeared by magic appeared in the place between. Cards and doves fluttered in the lantern light. Coins and rings spun past, flashed and were gone. Ropes, cups and balls danced in the perfumed air. A magician's assistant stepped out of nowhere as another vanished in the blink of an eye. It was a world of astonishment, a world of the unexpected. It was alive with magic. The carpet came to rest. Do you live here?" asked Leon, his eyes huge with wonder. "No," said the boy, "but my father is a great magician. He makes me disappear every night. If I help him, he will teach me magic." Then Leon felt something soft wriggling behind him. A white rabbit climbed gently onto Leon's lap and nestled in his arms. The boy stroked her ears. "Oh, she is always here," he said sadly. "She was never called back." Leon hugged the lonely rabbit and gazed around the place between, enchanted and amazed. Suddenly, the boy began to float away. "My father is calling," he said. "It is time to go." Leon waved. "Goodbye," he cried. "I'll never forget." Then, from far away, he heard an echo of his own name. "Leon, come back to us! Leon, return!" Leon felt the magic lift him off the ground and back into the darkness. Leon heard a sharp tap. The door of the box opened before him. Leon stepped out, with the white rabbit still in his arms. Abdul-Kazam took a majestic bow. The crowd cheered and clapped. Tom and little Mo clapped loudest of all. "Did you really disappear?" asked Pete as they shuffled out into the night. "Of course he did," said Tom. "See, this is a magic rabbit." He stroked her long, soft ears. "But where did you go?" asked little Mo. Leon smiled. "I went to the place that magic takes you," he said. "Can anyone go there?" sighed little Mo with a yawn. Leon lifted her up onto his shoulders. "Yes, anyone, Mo," he said. "Anyone who believes."
Be successful today. You're going to need an exercise book. If you haven't got one, ask your grown-up to pop to the school office to collect one for you. These are the 3 pages of the text that we're going to focus on today. Have a look again and have a go at reading them yourself. This is a my turn. What danced in the perfumed air? I went back to listen to the story again, and I listened for the word danced in the perfume air. In the sentence it said that the cups, ropes and balls danced in the perfumed air. This is an our turn. True or false? The boy was pleased the rabbit was left behind. Go back to the text to find the answer. It is false, because in the text it says, "She is always here," he said sadly. He said it sadly, which shows he's not happy about this. Now it's your turn. Today I'm expecting you all to start at Chili 1 and work your way through the chilies. For Chili 1 you've got 2 questions on the board to answer. For Chili 2 you've got to match the word to its correct definition. And for Chili 3 you've got a true or false question. Remember, the answers are in the text. You may need to go back to find them. Come back to the video afterwards to check your work. How did you get on? In a moment, the answers are going to be on the board. I'd like you to self-assess your work to see how successful you've been in today's reading lesson. Right, it's story time. I hope you're sitting comfortably. I wonder what Fizz is going to do with that book that he found on the floor. Let's find out.
Chapter 3, in which a mind reader is met and in which rabbits are discussed. The next morning, Fizzlebert woke up in bed This was a good start. Sometimes he woke up on the floor, which wasn't such a good start. It wasn't that he fidgeted in his sleep, but if the circus was travelling through the night, then sometimes the caravan would sway on a sharp corner, and if he'd forgotten to do up the buckles, then he'd be tipped out onto the floor. Fortunately, the floor wasn't particularly hard, and the fall wasn't particularly far, but on the whole, everyone would agree it's nicer to wake up in bed than out of it. And that was exactly what Fizz thought too. While he was sat in the caravan's tiny kitchen eating his breakfast, which was his usual candy floss and cornflakes, he flicked through the book he'd found the night before. He could only assume that one of these horrible kids had dropped it. He didn't want to be accused of stealing the book, but he didn't know what to do with it. He had tried asking his mum, but she had already put her makeup on, ready to rehearse some new routines with the rest of the clowns, and she couldn't give a sensible answer. "You could hide it in this bucket of custard," she had said, "unless you're afraid of the sharks." That was typical of her, no help at all. He wondered who else he should ask. The book itself was a novel, and normally Fizz liked novels. He liked ones about adventures in outer space, or in steamy jungles with dangerous animals, or with robots, if at all possible. He'd read the first few pages, and it was clear this novel had none of that. It was a story about life in a circus. Fizz thought a book ought to be an escape, ought to open a doorway into a different life for a few hours. This book didn't seem to do that at all. It just looked plain boring. After breakfast, Fizz had lessons. Even kids who live in circuses have to have some sort of schooling. It's the law. But I dare say the classes Fizz attended weren't quite like the ones kids like you get at school. All his different subjects were taught by different members of the circus. Each person taught Fizz the subject they felt they knew most about. For example, Madame Plume de Matante, the woman who told fortunes in a dimly lit and heavily perfumed tent by peering into a crystal ball, which was just an upside-down goldfish filled with purple smoke, but it looked all swirly and spooky and pretty mysterious. She taught Fizzlebert French. Since Fizz didn't know any French to begin with, it didn't much matter that Madame Plume de Matante didn't know more than half a dozen words herself. A fortune-teller, she thought, should be exotic and mysterious, and so she had assumed what she's called a French aura years before, which involved eating croissants every morning, drinking too much coffee, and saying oui instead of yes, which sounded like she was said oui a lot, which made Fizz laugh until she told him it actually meant yes in French and not oui. That much she had right. The rest she made up, and Fizzlebert never knew any different, not until the day he met a Frenchman. But that's a totally different story entirely.
Well done for a successful lesson today, Year 3. Come back tomorrow, we've got an extra special surprise from one of our Year 3 friends.